Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that my window is being shared. Okay, there we go. Health psychology. Just waiting for this to download. Okay. Health psychology. Just to inform you all, this workshop today will be separated into two parts. The first part will be on health psychology, and then the second part will be on the honors information process. So if you want to know more about honors and what your requirements are to get into UP, please stay longer for the later session. And then we'll be starting off with health psychology, and then we'll give Dr. Mostert a period to do a presentation, and then you guys will be more than welcome to ask questions. Following that, we'll start with the next presentation, which will be on the honors application process, and this will be presented by Tayla, and then you guys will get an opportunity to ask her questions. Health psychology. Health psychology is the study of psychological and behavioral processes in the health, illness, and healthcare. It is concerned with understanding how psychological, behavioral, and cultural factors contribute to physical health and illness. Psychological factors can affect health directly. By understanding how it affects health and then applying that knowledge, health psychologists can improve health by working directly with individual patients or indirectly in large-scale public health organizations. In addition, health psychologists can help train our healthcare professionals, example physicians and nurses, to apply the knowledge the discipline has generated when treating patients. Health psychologists work in a variety of settings along other medical professionals in hospitals, health departments working on large-scale behavior change health promotion programs, and in universities and medical schools where they teach and conduct research. Dr. Mostert will be able to elaborate more on all this information I've just given you. And the universities that offer this degree are UP, WITS, UJ, SACAP, UNISA, and Rhodes. And for our first presenter tonight, we have Dr. Mostert, who will be telling you guys more on health psychology, and she'll be able to answer any questions you might have on the field. Dr. Mostert, you may take it away.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, rather. I just do want to add to that what you just mentioned now. The important thing that you guys have to realize is that in South Africa, there's no formal degree of health psychology. So it's merely a field of interest at this stage. So that means that you can't really practice as a health psychologist. So even though some of the universities that you mentioned are now UP, we don't offer a degree program in health psychology. We merely have the subject matter. Now, before I get into the presentation, there was now just a brief introduction to what health psychology is. But yeah, so I'm Dr. Mostert, and I offer health psychology to our medical students. So that is presented to students that go exclusively into a medical field. And then starting from this year, we then also offered health psychology to our honors students. So we basically just started to present this module on our honors psychology degree level as well. But it is important that you guys please take note that you cannot practice as a health psychologist in South Africa. Okay, so it's not offered as a formal degree program. Okay, but I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit about what health psychology is. And I'm just quickly going to browse through this. I don't want to take up too much time. So this is a case study that this is something that I usually start with my students when I start with health psychology. And the case study is about Angela. And Angela is 35 years old. She's working, so she's actively busy. She has 2 children. They describe her as she's married. She's also very happy. She spends time with family and friends. She's also involved in the church, and people generally describe Angela as a happy person with an infectious laugh, and someone that they love to be around with because of her positive outlook. But Angela is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So now my question to you is, okay, so firstly, diabetes, which I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with, but diabetes is a chronic disease. And some of the symptoms that are associated with diabetes is fatigue, hunger, extreme thirst. People can also experience blurred vision. And then the long-term effects of diabetes includes hypertension, kidney disease, and it's one of the main causes of blindness. Now, given the information that you guys know about diabetes and what I also shared, and then the brief information that I gave you about Angela, would you guys say that Angela is healthy, or would you say that Angela is ill? And how would you rate Angela's overall well-being? So maybe I can get some of your guys, some of your thoughts. So would you say that Angela is healthy, or would you say that Angela is ill? What do you guys think?
I would say she's ill.
Okay. What about the rest of you? Come on, guys. This is a very informal discussion. What do you think? Do you think Angela's healthy, or would you say that she is ill?
I would agree that overall she's not very healthy.
Okay, so based on that, how did you guys make that decision? So both of you now say that Angela is ill. So what criteria did you use to make that decision?
Well, we were told that she has diabetes, and we have all of this knowledge about all of the symptoms of diabetes. So if she has it, then obviously she can't overall be healthy. I don't think so.
Okay, thank you so much. So you think that, based on the fact that she's diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, that she's ill. So the question that I asked you guys actually assumes that health is a dichotomous concept. So this means that somebody is either healthy in that they have no physical illness, or somebody is ill. So basically that's it. That's the 2 points or the 2 ends of the scale. Somebody cannot, in this case, Angela has a physical ailment, so she cannot be healthy. But now look at these statements. Lifespan may be as wide as your smile. The bigger the smile, the longer the life. And I kid you not, research supports this statement. Men who are married live longer than men who are not. So what does all this mean? And the same with the case study about Angela. So how do we make sense of these claims? Now, this is essentially the types of questions that health psychology addresses. But before we get into that, I want to understand from you guys, what does it mean to be healthy? So 2 of you now mentioned that you think Angela is ill, and I'm sorry I can't see your names, but the one student mentioned that because she has type 2 diabetes, she cannot be ill. So what does it mean to you guys to be healthy? What does health mean to you?
In the chat box, somebody said that they think she's healthy because although she has a chronic disease, she manages to function well.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. But what does it mean to be healthy? What does health mean to you? How would you guys define health? Based on the contributions that have been made, some of you seem to define health as basically the absence of illness. So in the case of Angela, Angela has type 2 diabetes, so she cannot be healthy.
Someone says to be healthy means being physically and mentally in a good condition.
Okay, so there somebody combined the physical and mental component. So they said that, being healthy means that they are physically healthy, but they're also mentally healthy. So health, if it's just the absence of a physical illness, then it means that Angela cannot be considered healthy because she has a physical disorder. She has type 2 diabetes. But what about your beliefs, your behaviors? And are healthy people only those people with no disease or disability? So the World Health Organization defines health as a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being. So this means that health is not merely the absence of a disease. So health is not simply being without an illness. It goes beyond the physical and it includes the mental and social domains as well. Now, I'm just quickly going to give you guys just a brief history of how health psychology developed. So in the past, so I'm talking many, many centuries ago, disease and illness was mainly attributed to evil spirits. And the Greeks were one of the first to identify the importance of bodily factors when it comes to health and illness. And based on the information they had during those times, they proposed what is known as humoral theory. Now, this theory dictates that there are certain fluids that circulates the body, and these fluids are known as humors. Now, they identified 4 humors, which is blood, black bile, yellow bile, and phlegm. And based on this theory, disease was caused when any one of these humors were out of balance. And then naturally, the treatment was aimed at restoring this balance. So initially they thought that illness was mainly caused by supernatural entities. And then the Greeks recognized, but wait, biological factors are also important when it comes to disease development. Okay, so they proposed humoral theory. But unfortunately, back to the Middle Ages, they again reverted to supernatural explanations. And one of the main reasons for that is the church was seen as the government or the authority during these times. So they basically governed medical knowledge. And the priests were also the physicians during the Middle Ages. So that's unfortunately, they reverted back to supernatural explanations. But then there came advances in understanding medicine. The microscope was developed. They were able to perform autopsies. So they were able to identify the disease organs linked to specific physical illnesses. So then humoral theory was refuted. It was put to rest. But because the focus was now mainly on the microscope, they focused mainly on bodily factors and how that contributed to disease development. So in this case, unfortunately, the mind was not seen as contributing to disease. Now, it was only with Sigmund Freud. You guys are, I hope, very familiar with Sigmund Freud. Now, he proposed conversion hysteria, and this was kind of the beginning of the psychosomatic medicine movement. And what he proposed was that certain unconscious conflicts can ultimately produce physical manifestations. So this basically means that when we experience certain psychological symptoms, this can ultimately be converted into a physical symptom. And this is when they started to recognize the importance of psychological factors when it comes to physical health. So now if you think about what exactly is health psychology. So this is basically the field devoted to understanding the psychological influences on how people stay healthy, why other people become ill, and how people react when they are diagnosed with a physical illness. So basically, health psychology is a branch of psychology that tries to understand how people's behavior and their lifestyle choices, how that ultimately impacts their physical health. And now, why did the field of health psychology develop? One of the main reasons is that it's a relatively new field, but there is a need to address the changes and the challenges that have emerged in the field of health and healthcare. You guys can just think about the times we are in currently. Thinking about COVID now, think about all of the changes and the challenges we have to face. So one of the main reasons that health psychology emerged is that because of all of these changes and challenges, we need to address how we're going to deal with all of these obstacles. So in the past, people died from infectious diseases, but nowadays people live a longer life. So longevity has increased tremendously. But another main reason why health psychology has developed is there has been an increase in chronic diseases. Now, the main thing about these chronic conditions are they are preventable diseases. So this means that we can prevent these problems from happening in the first place. And in order to do that, we need psychology. So the role of psychologists have expanded beyond a simple focus on mental health, but it's now also used to help people make lifestyle related changes. So if somebody, for example, needs to quit smoking or they need to lose weight, we can help them, we can develop interventions to help them quit smoking. Get to the root of what is the problem, why are people struggling, why can't they obtain or maintain or achieve these goals. They can also help with the management and the treatment of adherence. So medication adherence is a big problem, and we can understand the psychological factors that impact why people do not follow their treatment prescriptions. Okay, so health psychology then ultimately contributes to identifying the conditions that impact our overall physical health. It helps to diagnose psychological conditions that can complicate physical health problems. It can treat and manage the psychological factors that are related to a chronic or a terminal condition. And it can help people change some of the behavioral factors that are related to the physiological and the psychological rehabilitation. But just to give you guys an idea of where you can find the field of health psychology. So you guys know that clinical psychology can be found between the field of psychology and then mental disorders. Psychiatry is when we combine the field of medicine with mental disorders. And then behavioral medicine, so generally just the medical field, that's between medicine and physical disorders. And then health psychology, that is located between psychology and physical disorders. So all illnesses raise psychological issues. Although the problem may be physical in nature, there are always psychological issues that we need to address. So ultimately, a disease is caused by biological factors, social and psychological factors. So this means that the mind and the body cannot be separated when we think about health and illness. This is just the 4 primary focus areas of health psychology. It's on health promotion and maintenance. So the idea is that health psychology has a positive psychology component as well. We're not trying to just understand on what's wrong. So we're not just looking at why some people become ill. We also want to understand why other people do not. So what are other people doing to maintain a healthy life? So health promotion and maintenance. What can be done to promote healthy living and to help people maintain it? We also want to prevent and treat illnesses. We want to understand the causes of health and illness. So again, we want to understand on why some people are healthy and why other people become ill. And ultimately, the idea is that we want to improve the overall healthcare system by reformulating the healthcare policies. So when it comes to training in health psychology, so very important, as I mentioned, you cannot practice as a health psychologist in South Africa. Now, based on the information that I shared with you guys, you can imagine that in order for you to practice in health psychology, you need extensive information and knowledge in both the medical and the psychological field. And then work of health psychologists, they mainly work as researchers. Clinical health psychologists can work in a hospital or a clinical setting. They work with creating behavioral interventions to help people deal with a chronic or a terminal condition. They help with psychological or neuropsychological assessment, obviously the psychological treatment. So the presence of a psychological disorder complicates the recovery process of a physical health condition. So obviously we need to address the mental health issues. And then it contributes to, the field also contributes to health policies and health related decisions. Now, although you cannot practice as a health psychologist in South Africa, if you go into either research psychology, counseling, or clinical, you can still contribute to the field of health. So basically, from a research perspective, obviously you can be involved in doing research. Again, I'm relating this to the current times we're in COVID. So doing research about, some of the struggles that people have experienced. We can develop interventions, so support systems, what can be done to help people. And then we can do research on the effectiveness of these interventions. And then clinical psychologists, obviously, as I mentioned, it's very important that we treat the mental health conditions of people. So if a patient, for example, is diagnosed with cancer or they're diagnosed with a terminal condition, clinical psychologists can help these patients work through the emotional distress. And then counseling psychologists, one thing that's very important to note when it comes to physical illness is that individuals do not develop chronic conditions. Families do. Now, the same applies with a terminal illness. When a patient is diagnosed with a chronic or a terminal illness, it does not just affect the individual in isolation. It affects the entire family system. And social support is one of the main resources to help people with their physical recovery. And this is where counseling psychology can also play an important role to offer those family type of interventions. Okay, but basically, health psychology looks at the psychological, the social factors that can improve health and that can also prevent and treat illnesses, and it tries to evaluate and change the overall healthcare policy. Okay, so the floor is yours. Do you guys have any questions?
If you have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to type it in the chat box or raise your hand so that you can switch on your mic. Please feel free.
If you guys don't have any questions now, please just take down my email address or my details. You're more than welcome to come and see me in the office. I'm there basically every day except for Fridays. You guys are also welcome to send me an email. I'll talk to you via email, or you can make an appointment with me. So I'm hoping that the presentation was informative enough in that you don't have questions. Hopefully it's not that you guys were bored out of your mind.
It seems as if nobody has questions for you, Dr. Mostert, but thank you so much for taking your time to come and do this presentation. I really appreciate all the effort you put into it, and thank you so much for helping us.
It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for organizing this and for all the effort you guys have put into prepare the undergrad students a bit more for what the process of, honors applications and what that entails. So thank you so much. And then hopefully, as I mentioned, you guys are more than welcome to send me an email if you have any questions. But good luck with the rest of the session.
Thank you so much. Bye. Okay, guys, now we'll be moving on to the honors application process, and this one will be presented by Tayla. And before we start with that, please take note of all the opening and closing dates for the different honor programs that the various, as this is very important. And VITS will be opening on the 1st of June. UJ will be opening on the 1st of July. UCT is already open. And these are the different financing options for postgrads. So if you know you're going to need funding, please take note of the different websites so that you can submit your applications in time. Actually, now we'll be having Tayla, who will tell you more on the honours application process for the University of Pretoria, and she'll be able to answer any questions you guys might have. Tayla, you may take it away.
Hello guys, I hope you can all hear me. I just want to share my screen quick. Sorry, I don't know why it's not letting me do this. There we go. Can you guys all see this honors program window that I have open?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. Great. Okay, so yeah, I'm Tayla. I currently work as a research assistant / honors program assistant for UP. So basically, I'm just going to go through the process with you as best as I can. It's laid out really well. So if there is any confusion, please just always refer back to this website because everything is here. So basically, obviously, we have our requirements. So you have to have your bachelor's degree, obviously in a third year, you have to have a third year level psychology modules, a weighted average of 70%. I know there's a few people that ask, they've got less than 70, should they still apply? If I'm honest, that requirement is there for a reason. So if you do apply, you won't meet the requirements. So your application won't be, it won't carry on any further than that. So if you do have less than 70, unfortunately, it's not really wise to apply because you won't get through. Some do also ask if they get like 73, 75. We get a lot of questions on whether they should still apply. You can still apply. Obviously, you meet the requirements. However, it is very competitive. So usually we're looking at about an 85 upwards is usually where the marks fall, but you never know. Each year is different. So still apply if you have that requirement. You might get in. Then obviously your research modules is very important. A lot of people forget about this research module. Just make sure you take your research modules either in your second year or your second and third year. Selection process, obviously, that's pretty simple to understand. Then the application process. I think a lot of people get stressed and like confused when they start this process. And we get a lot of queries on really simple things where if you just like relax and read through everything in depth, it's all there. So I'm just going to click here. There's 2 forms that you have to fill out, but they're both on this link. So if you just click on this link, there we go. There's a really nice form that has everything. So there's 3 steps, if I'm correct. Yeah. So step 1 is basically just your requirements. So make sure you meet your requirements. If you do, you move on to step 2. Step 2 has 2 links. It is for students that are not from UP and then students that are currently at UP. For prospective students, you're going to click on that link. That's like a normal application form, like a straightforward application form. Where you'll just fill in all your details, all of that kind of stuff. Then if you're currently a UP student, it's a little bit different. You do it through your student portal. So you go onto your student portal, student center, you follow these steps over here. It's a little bit easier because they already have your information on the system. So you'll just click, you want to do psychology honors, and then you'll click submit. Then only once you have done that, can you move on to step 3, which is a Google form. And there's like a lot of confusion over this Google form in that I think people rush through their application and then they don't read these steps thoroughly, and then they get confused. So the Google form can only be completed once. So preferably don't open it when you've only got like a 10-minute slot and then try and complete it later. It just can cause problems. So I would suggest when you have time, you can have a couple hours, sit down and complete this form because it can only be done once. And then here it even tells you what you'll need for that form. I think if you carry on down, this is a full instruction letter again, just stating exactly what you need to do. Yeah. So like make sure you have your full academic record, your completed degrees. If you are from a foreign country, you'll obviously need that SAQA certificate. Again, only if it's applicable. We still get students that ask, do they need this, even though they are South African citizens? And then the disability unit as well. A surprising amount of students also ask, where can I get this from? But this is only if you have a disability. So if you have a disability, you will already have this letter. Only then is it applicable. So make sure you have these documents already before you start the application process. Otherwise, it gets a bit confusing and then you could go off the link and then you can't get back on and then it's a bit difficult. Yeah. So obviously, if you don't upload these documents, your application is not going to go through. Again, we get a lot of questions regarding motivation letters and like reference letters and stuff like that. You don't need that for honors. That's a master's level thing. So you basically just need these two. If the other two don't apply to you, you only need the top two documents, which is really simple. So you don't need any kind of like motivational letter. I think in the internal application as well, there's a space where you can add a motivation. That also, you're not going to get in or not get in based on that. That's just for if you would like to add something there. I think like it's such a limited amount of characters you're allowed there. You can basically just say you want to study this. So yeah, don't worry if you don't do that. It's not going to affect your application. I just want to see if there's anything important that I missed. Yeah, so please make sure that you do both of these, the departmental one and the online application, because and it doesn't matter, you don't have to do them directly after each other, just as long as they are both completed in the time frame. Yeah, everything else is really straightforward. The people that work on this letter, they do it so thoroughly and they really put a lot of work into it. So it's really straightforward and they repeat themselves like over and over in various different ways. So if you are confused, just read it again and again. Okay, so the TICS applications close on the 30th of September. So we don't start looking at applications as they come in. So it doesn't matter if you apply now or if you apply in September, it all gets looked at together. Yeah. With the marks, this was another confusing section for everyone. Even though you don't have your, when you get there, you won't have your first semester marks when you want to apply. That's fine. Don't stress about that. You just hand in like the marks that you have currently. There was something about percentages that I wanted to talk about. I just want to go back here. Yeah. With your second year marks and your third year marks, it's weighted 40-60. So obviously your third year marks are definitely the most important. You want to be getting as high marks as you can because that's weighting more. And then 40% is your first and second year marks. Other than that, the application process is quite simple and it's quite straightforward. I know that it can be very overwhelming because it seems like it's so much. But if you just take the time to read through all of these, read through the requirements, what you need to do, what links you need to follow, what documents you need to have, it's quite straightforward. And here there's so much information on this page. I would really recommend that you go and do this. But if you do get stuck and there are any queries that you currently have about next year, this honors Psyche, this mailbox here, you can please email there. I'm also gonna, what I'm gonna do is, sorry, now I need to find where my window is. Oh yeah. I'm going to put my email address. Okay, it doesn't want to let me message. So I can't put my email address now. But that honors mailbox, I'm one of the people that run that mailbox. So if you do have any questions, just direct it to that mailbox, and then one of us will get back to you as soon as we can with any of your queries. Don't be scared to ask. If you are confused, rather just ask, because there is a lot of confusion, and I do understand. I'm speaking from experience. So please just reach out if you do have any questions. Or you think of any, or you come to any issues when you are doing the application, just reach out to us there and we'll assist you. Other than that, everything else is quite simple. So I don't know if anyone has any specific questions right now. If you would like to ask me, you're more than welcome to do that.
Tayla, we have a question in the chat box. Someone's asking, if you are currently a UP student, will you pay the 300 fee when applying for honours?
I actually would need to double check this because if I'm honest, I don't work a lot with the internal applications. It's more like the external ones. If I'm correct, you don't have to pay the the application fee from my own experience, what I'm trying to remember. But I can double check about this if you want to send me an email regarding that. But if I'm correct, you don't need to pay if you are already a student. But that should also say when you're applying, if you needed to pay, it will say, please pay this amount, whatever. But if it doesn't say that, then no, you don't have to. But I'm sure you don't have to.
Mr. Odendahl, you have your hand up.
Good day. So I just want to, well, it's not day anymore. Good evening. I just wanted to make 100% sure in the requirements, your academic requirements. You spoke about the research modules. Now I'm not 100% sure, but as far as I know, just want to double check. We only have one research module now. It used to be Res 310 and Res 320. But as far as I know, we only have to do Res 320 now. Could you confirm whether that is true or not?
So basically, Res 310 just means it's in the first semester, if I'm correct, and Res 320 is in the second. So if they did just take the first semester out, it's usually because a lot of students take both of the Res modules in second year. So they'll take Res 210, I think it is, or something like that in the first semester, and then Res 320 in the second semester. So that just means it falls into the second semester. I'm not sure if they took it away, but either way, you'll just then need to make sure for the second semester you add the module or whatever to your registration.
Okay, thank you very much.
I hope that helps. No problem.
And then a question in the chat box says, does our percentage matter for Res 320? Or do you just need to be like 50% and it's good?
That's actually a good question. I know that it's your psychology marks that carry the weight, if I'm correct. So I think you just have to have passed your research modules. We don't look at your percentage of your research modules.
Would you advise a second year student to take RES?
I would, but purely because I did that. So in second year, the workload in psychology is a little bit easier than in third year, because third year you start taking like critical psychology and that type of stuff. So that's when the workload is quite a lot. So I would suggest, if you want to maximize your third year marks that count the most, I would take my research modules in my second year. But also, it doesn't matter which way you do it if you're working really hard. It's really however your working goes.
Are there any more questions? Kayla.
Hi. So I know for a master's application, usually they ask if you have done any volunteering or any extra practical work. So when you apply for honors, do they also look at those type of things or not really?
No, honors is purely based on your marks. Only then when you get to master's year do they start looking at additional things on top of your marks. So for honors, you are accepted purely on your percentage, on your marks.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Did I see another
Tahira.
hand? Oh, yes, I did.
Evening. I'd just like to find out if, let's say, you don't get into honors, like if you apply for 2023, can you apply the following year as well?
I think I did my honors in 2020, and I'm sure you have 2 attempts at honors, if I'm correct. So I think if you don't get in, you can apply again. I might have to double check this. So if you can send me an email and then I'll double check and then I can answer you if you'd like to. But I think you have more than 1 attempt.
Okay, thank you.
Kayla, I'm not sure if you're asking another question or you just didn't put your hand down.
I'm sorry, I didn't put my hand down.
I just want to add that for these questions where I'm not sounding 100% sure, I am just the assistant. So if you are not happy or you're still confused, just re-ask me them in an email. Then I check with someone else in the department, and then I get back to you. So feel free to re-ask me in an email if you weren't happy with the response.
And then someone asked, when you say marks, do they mean marks for all our modules or just psychology? But I think you mentioned just psychology.
Yes, just your psychology marks. Obviously, it is helpful if you have passed all your modules. But yes, we just look at your psychology marks and the average of your psychology marks over the years.
And would you recommend starting community service, say, in 3rd year of SLK?
Do you mean like external community service outside of the one in your 3rd year? If it is that, I'll just carry on. If it is external or additional, it doesn't really make a difference to get into honors, but I think it does help you personally. So it exposes you to different kinds of things, whether it's volunteering at I think Psyche has like a whole bunch. I also volunteered for Psyche when I was in 3rd year, and it was like amazing. So for your personal growth, I would recommend doing additional community service. It always helps. And it also goes when you like apply to masters and whatnot, all that experience helps once you get there.
Does anyone else have a question? Is there any place you would recommend for job shadowing?
Sure. I can't say that there's like very specific places. I think any place where it's a career that you could be interested in, whether it's clinical psychology, whether it's counseling psychology, whether it's research, whatever it is that you're interested in, I would say reach out to someone, even like career services at the university. Reach out to someone like that. There are student services like that where they might have somewhere where you could go and job shadow. But basically, anywhere where you can shadow someone that's in the field that you are in is always helpful.
I did a research module for my honors in visual studies. Will that count?
That you are probably going to have to query with admin or someone like that. I'm not sure, because it all depends on what kind of research it was. Is it the same? Is the layout of the module the same as the psychology one? So that you're going to have to query with someone else. Again, you can then resend this to me in an email, and I can then refer you to another department or something like that. I don't want to give you wrong information, and I'm not sure what that research module was about. So maybe contact someone in admin or send the psych mailbox an email, and then I'll be able to refer you or give you an actual answer.
I don't think anyone has any more questions.
Okay, cool. If there is anyone else, again, that has more questions or you think of questions along the way, just email I don't know why this won't let me. I think it's because I came in just through the guest link. I'm not sure. It won't let me type a mailbox. I mean, in this message box to put my other email. But I think Psyche, you guys have my other email, the taylor.ponter@up.ac.za. So if you want to put that somewhere, you guys can contact me on that email.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat box.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much.
Guys, if you don't have any more questions, you're more than welcome to leave. If you are waiting for me to type in the email address, then I shall do that now.
And just from me, thanks so much for putting these information sessions together. I did not have this in my undergrad, and it would have been so helpful. So thank you guys so much for your work that you put into this. It was really great.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that everyone knew what they needed.